The dire wolf. Is it extinct? Is it not extinct? I'm here to give my input on that. Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today I'm back at it with another episode. This one is actually the second episode I'm doing on the dire wolf. Sorry for the late uploads, just been dealing with school stuff. For those of you who don't know, I am going to school to become a real paleontologist. But a while back, I made a episode talking more about the science of the dire wolf, where I kind of talked loosely based on some of the science and the things behind it and how those worked. I think it was like a CNN article. I don't remember. That's not really the important part. But in that, I said something without doing proper further research. I said that it's a dire wolf and that's it, and that's good enough for me. Now that I've thought about it and I've read articles, I have determined I am nowhere near qualified to discuss the science behind this in any way, shape, or form. I did not understand 2/3 of some of the chromosome, whatever. But to dumb it down for extremely, they only changed like 14 of the whatever 70, 90 genomes. So it's really just a genetically modified gray wolf to be larger, have white hair, and I'm pretty sure it's like a stronger bite force. It's not a dire wolf. The thing about dire wolves are they're actually more closely related to African jackals than they are actual wolves. The closest living relative to the dire wolf is the gray wolf. So I guess that's somewhat right. They shared 99.5% of their DNA, while some researchers previously thought dire wolves were a different species. New genetic evidence indicates they are more closely related. So that's interesting, though, because this is another thing saying here. A jackal is closer to a dire wolf than a wolf. While both dire wolves and modern wolves share a common ancestor, genetic studies suggest that the dire wolves were more closely related to the African jackal than to gray wolves. The dire wolf's evolutionary lineage diverged early, forming its own distinct branch with the canine family. So they're not in the Canis lupus. So, I mean, for a lack of better words, no, they did not bring back the gray wolf. Do not go around saying they brought back the gray wolf. Or no. Sorry. Whoa. Gray wolf is not dead. They didn't need to bring back the gray wolf. They did not bring back the dire wolf. I have done my research on this. I've talked to a few people about their opinions. Watched a few other videos of trusted people that I've interviewed. The science behind it is very interesting. I would suggest you still do read it. It's very fascinating, and I'm sure it could lead to many great things in the future. Just this is not a dire wolf. Granted, it's a step closer to being a dire wolf than a gray wolf, but it is still not a dire wolf. It's as much as a dire wolf as a chimpanzee is closer to humans than like a monkey. It's closer to a dire wolf than what we have, but it is not a dire wolf. And sorry to break the illusion for some of you, but I personally still think this is very fascinating. I find it very interesting. I personally think they're still very beautiful and majestic. What are their names? Romulus, Remus, and then I completely forgot the Female's name. I guess I can't just look that up. But Romulus and Remus leading the charge into a de-extinction project. This is still very fascinating, and I was very quick to shoot the gun to say, this is a dire wolf, and that's that. But this is me coming back and thinking about it a little more. This is not a dire wolf. Dire wolves are sadly still not de-extinct. There will be. They say they are working on projects. I think it's like by 2028, they're hoping to de-extinct the mammoth. And this is something that I will also talk on a little bit here. A lot of people are like, "Oh, what's the benefit of that? What could we possibly use that for?" And to an extent, I see why they're arguing that. There would be no real, just like major benefit short term for doing it, but long term, mammoth steps are a thing. So, in theory, if we created a bunch of mammoths and then started breeding them, and then we made a bunch of mammoths, we could release them into Siberia and northern. I was about to say Australia, but they'd probably die of heat stroke. But northern Canada and Alaska and parts like that, and they could make it mammoth steppe. They could make it actually habitable for other animals and even us. Because what they do is they trample up the snow and they dig stuff up and they poop a lot. Big animals poop a lot. And if you know anything about animals that eat a lot of ferns and grass, and well, I don't know if they eat a lot of ferns, but grasses and mosses and very planty-based diets, they actually have a lot of fertilizer basically in their dung. So it would actually refertilizes the soil and brings new grasses and stuff, possibly making it farmable, livable, more habitable, for not just us but other animals, which would be interesting. And we could possibly see de-evolutionary events happening more naturally, because technically this is not the first animal that has ever been de-extinctized, is not even the right word. The nautilus has been found, the coelacanth or coelacanth, as I've heard it been called, has been found, but those are that's not really de-extinction. That's just like misclassification, if that makes any sense. So they were never really extinct, we just couldn't find them, which is fair enough. But there was a bird, bird that evolved back from extinction. The Albera rail, the flightless Albera rail, went extinct 136,000 years ago when its atoll home sank beneath the waves. Then it evolved again when purchased through links on our site. We may earn some. I don't know what this is. Okay, so a flightless bird, a notable example of a species that has evolved back from extinction through interval evolution. The bird went extinct around 136,000 years ago due to the rising sea levels and the submerged its island home. However, its flying relative, the white-throated rail, recolonized the island and re-evolved into the flightless Albera rail within 20,000 years. This process, where a species goes extinct and then a similar species re-evolves into extinction from, is called iterative evolution. So it is possible for species like this for it to happen. In theory, something like a dire wolf, very well, if need be, if needed, could come back to existence with the right evolutionary purposes. So if there were bigger fauna in North America and the gray wolves needed to get bigger, maybe there was more snow on the ground, they would grow that wider coat, they would get that bigger jaw. And that's not necessarily what makes them a a direwolf. This is also not a direwolf skull. This is way too small to be a direwolf skull, but it is a wolf skull, and that is the point. But they could, in theory, evolve naturally back into existence without human intervention, but that is very unlikely. And I feel if we are going to bring back mammoths, we should bring back predators to regulate them, because then you just introduce an endangered species into a new environment, and then you have to deal with that, and then it kills all the other animals, and then you got to re-evolve them and all this other jazz, and we don't want to deal with that. So, I mean, maybe even just like a giant fenced-in area with minimal wildlife. You release the mammoths into there, and then put like a few dire wolves in there to let them kind of hunt and regulate the mammoth population, and do it that way is a plausible thing. But this is sadly not a dire wolf. As cool as it is to say that dire wolves have been brought back, and again, like I said, it is technically closer to a dire wolf than a gray wolf, but it's still not a dire wolf, but it is a step closer to actually bringing back the dire wolf. And this is basically just a short episode. This is probably one of the shorter episodes I'll upload, just with me talking about just what I really have come to think about. Maybe I'll make another one later on down the road where I completely change my mind. Something comes up and I'm just like, you know what? No, that's a dire wolf. But as of right now, I stand on this. It's closer to a dire wolf than a gray wolf, but it is still not a dire wolf. But that's kind of all I have. But before we end this, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. Huge shout out to today's sponsor, Dinosaur Trips. If you enjoy these majestic creatures I talk about here on the podcast and would like to go see them for yourself, I would heavily recommend Dinosaur Trips. Dinosaur Trips is a company created to give people a behind-the-scenes in-look on museums and dig sites, along with just having an amazing time looking at these amazing, fabulous, majestic creatures. So if you sound interested, go to www.dinosaurtrips.com and tell them Prehistoric Life sent you and get $250 off your tickets. Now, back to the show. Well, that is all I have for today. Oh, yeah. Also, hide that. Remember to check out, if I even have it pulled up. Remember to sign up, get your tickets for Prehistoric Live. We're doing some incredible things. We have some incredible speakers. There's actually 2 more now. Remember to get your tickets. Sign up for Prehistoric Live. It is July 18th, 19th. Sign off your calendar. Get your tickets. Please show up. We really want to see you there. I'm really hoping for a lot of people to show up, but it's only $5. Just show up. We got some amazing people. We have Dr. Brian Curtice, Dr. BC himself. We have Jimmy Waldron coming back again, Daniel Mosley, Bodhi. We have Seth Sorensen from Fossil Shacks and PJ from Fossil Empires. We got some amazing sponsors for it. Please come on. Just get your tickets and come hang out with us. Come ask questions. Come listen to some paleontologists talk about paleontology. Like, that's why you're watching this video and you've made it this far. You might as well show up. But I'm your host, Eric Crawford. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you all next time. Remember, keep it prehistoric. Goodbye.